Shemai friendy and welcome back to my channel. My name's CaitlinAnwyn for anyone who's new here, and let's get back into building in Planet Zoo. And we're going to be continuing in the Africa Zoo today with the African penguins. This is going to be the second part of the habitat, but as you can see, we didn't have anything on the map at this point because I wanted to get the boat ride in before I started building the habitat, but I didn't want to be too repetitive with the videos because we've only just now finished with the 4x4 adventure tour ride. So I thought I'd give it more of a break in between the two and just show you the building for the penguin habitat first, and then we'll get into everything else in this one. So it doesn't really make sense, it wasn't really split chronologically, but I needed the ride done before I built everything else. As you can see, like, I had to take all of the water out of the whole map. This river is connected to like all of the water sources throughout the map, so that's why there's nothing anywhere at the moment, just the boat ride, because that needed to be done first. I just didn't want to show it last video. But this boat ride isn't just going to be for the African penguins, this is going to be for some hippos as well. That's my plan for this part of the map anyway, because these habitats are going to be so large and the map is so big. I wanted to include more transport rides around the habitats and around the whole map, and that's just to make it feel more natural. And now back into the habitat itself. As I mentioned in the last video, this is inspired by a Netflix documentary called Penguin Town, and it follows different groups of African penguins around this town in Africa. And Lord and Lady Courtyard were the inspiration for the last video, and the couple who has inspired this part of the habitat are called Mr. and Mrs Wheelbarrow. And we've got Mr. and Mrs Culvert as well. I think there was a Culvert couple as well. The Culverts had their nest in some bushes, and they were like pink tinted bushes, which I've substituted for these like lilac, light purple, pinky bushes. And of course, Mr. and Mrs Wheelbarrow lived in a wheelbarrow. It was an upside down wheelbarrow that they squeezed underneath, and that was actually like a really clever nest because not a lot of other animals could actually get in. Oh, I have hiccups. Not a lot of other animals could actually get into the wheelbarrow, like the larger pride. Oh, I have hiccups. Oh dear. Because the documentary was what inspired me to build this whole habitat, so I want to chat about it. But I really like the culverts, and they lived in these bushes, and they had a really sad story, really. But they lived quite close to the wheelbarrow couple, Mr. and Mrs Wheelbarrow, so that's why I put those two together there. But I really love those purpley bushes. It was so pretty, and just like that little pop of colour next to the blue buildings just look really, really nice. And the penguins don't always stay at their nests, of course. They go down to the beach and go to hunt to bring food back for their little families. And the beaches in Simonstown, where the documentary was set, have like pebble beaches, and there's a lot of rocks where the penguins will congregate, and they like climb up onto them and jump off to go into the water. So I wanted lots of rocks to also create like a natural barrier, because that's kind of what I've been trying to go for in this zoo, is to make it feel more realistic and more like these animals are just living their lives in the wild. Less like a Planet Zoo habitat and more like their natural habitats. Compared to the whole habitat, these little African penguins do look absolutely tiny, but they're just so cute, even though they're like super loud, and I'm sure you can hear them for miles. I did show what they sound like in my Africa animal showcase video. There's the noise. They're actually nicknamed the jackass penguins because of the noises they make. So even though they're tiny, they are super duper loud. Even though I have viewing points from either side of the habitat, the bridge is really good for showing like the whole thing. And once we fill out more of this part of the map, the bridge will be really good to look at lots of different animals, because we'll have the hippos just behind the penguins. And the rocks do work as a barrier to stop the penguins from going past certain areas, but having the boat ride here makes it a little tricky because I can't get any rocks any closer to the ride track, of course, because that'll stop the boat. But even though I've got escaping off in the sandbox settings, the penguins just swim out anyway. So I'm a little concerned with putting hippos next to the penguins because I'm pretty sure the hippos would eat them. Hippos are pretty aggressive and pretty scary when you think about it. Like, have you seen those videos where they like munch on those watermelons? That could be your head. And I thought it'd be nice to decorate this side as well, because this side has the pathway that comes from the 4x4 adventure tour. So once you get off that ride and you see like the white rhinos and everything, you're going to go straight to see these African penguins. So I wanted this side to be nicely decorated, and I thought it would be perfect to make this like a regular beach, because the penguins really don't care whether there's humans on a beach. They'll just go and wander. They're not afraid of humans really. They actually like to stick around us more because we protect them from other sorts of predators like big cats and stuff. They don't really seem to mind sitting on like beach towels and that. There was a few clips in the documentary where the penguins were like gently shooed away by people because they were just chilling on their beach towels, like they were sunbathing. So I used the Indian style rugs for different styles of towels. Yeah, we have these little beach chairs and they're very cute and you can recolor them and everything, but I wanted to make this look more like a realistic beach. No one has the same towels or anything when they come to the beach, so there was a few different patterns and a few different colors that I used so it would look like a more realistic beach where people have brought their own towels down to sunbathe on the beach. But then I used the same color palette as the ride station building for the umbrellas, so it was like a beach umbrella, so it would stay in the same sort of color palette and feel like those were just there and not brought in by other people. When you go on holiday, like the hotels have parasols, like umbrellas for the beach, and you tend to then bring your own towel. I thought I would add in a few more plants to tie in that one little corner where the wheelbarrow was for Mr. and Mrs Wheelbarrow. And I was planning on doing something for the safari this video, for like this video, instead of doing a two-parter for the penguins. I wanted to include giraffes in my safari, but from my research, giraffes don't really sleep, and I was planning on doing a shelter for the safari, like a natural shelter. I have no idea what to build for giraffes, what kind of natural shelter I could build for giraffes because they're so tall. In the wild, giraffes can sleep a minimum of 30 minutes a day. Can you imagine only sleeping 30 minutes in a whole day? So they don't really use shelter. So I couldn't really find any realistic examples of shelters for them. So that's why I've put that off a little bit, and I'm gonna ignore the safari a little bit longer and have a little bit more fun playing around with this penguin town habitat instead. And I'm also using the new waypoints for this habitat. I've put one on the bridge because I thought the bridge would be a perfect place to stop and look at the whole of the habitat. And you never know, I might put something on the other side of that bridge as well. But I just thought it'd be a good place to put a waypoint because that'll still encourage guests to use my 4x4 adventure tour to go through the safari and to get to this point as well. And this is pretty much the first time that I'm using like education boards and speakers too, because the safari doesn't really lend itself well to education boards. Like, you going on a ride, you don't really stop to read anything. But I really like the new education board frames that come with the pack. And they're flexi colour, so they were like this metallic colour, which didn't really go with the vibe that I was going for. So I recolored that to match the colour scheme of the zoo's buildings. So it's like a light blue and a nice light blade, light blue, and a nice light blade. I can't say it. And you may have noticed I still don't really have a name for this zoo. I've not been the best at trying to figure out a name for this. I have had a suggestion of trying to find a name that includes both Arabic and also including some Welsh in there too, but I'm not really sure. There is a very nice Welsh word which is Nodfa, which means sanctuary. I'm not really sure for an Arabic name to go with it, and I know with Welsh it's like the language structure or the sentence structure is technically the other way around to English. So like where we would normally say my name is Caitlin, in Welsh it would be CaitlinAnwyn. It's the first thing we learn. So I'm not sure how to structure something that would be a mix of Arabic and Welsh. Would it be like something sanctuary, like how we would say it, like in English? Or would it be sanctuary something? But I'm not as familiar with Arabic, of course, so like I don't want to be disrespectful in any way. So I'll have to look into that a little bit. I might do a little bit more research in with that, but I really like Nodfa because that kind of gives the sense that this place is like a nature reserve, like a sanctuary for wild animals. I have adjusted my sandbox settings to stop animals from escaping as often or escaping their habitats, but for some reason, even with that switched on or switched off, penguins can still swim out. They can't like break their barriers and walk out, but they can swim out, which you can see here because we are done with this habitat. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed trying to incorporate some of the nests that were on the documentary Penguin Town, like the upside down wheelbarrow and the fountain. These are one of my favourite animals from the Africa pack, so I've had a lot of fun building a habitat for them. I think this is probably going to be one of my favourites for the whole zoo. I hope you enjoyed it too, and let me know what animal we should build a habitat for next. Now I've finished off the penguins. And if you have any ideas for the safari habitat, because I've been avoiding that a little bit. I know I want to include giraffes in there, but I have no idea what shelter to build for them. If you have an idea for that, something that would fit along with the natural side of the habitat, like I want that one to feel like it's just somewhere in the wild. I know I do want to include hippos as well, so I might be doing hippos as well next week. So thanks so much for that suggestion. I will be doing a hippo habitat and including the boat ride. And my voice is going now, so I best stop chatting shit. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe. And hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!